All right, are we all seated?
Just want to make sure.
All right. We're going to stand up, everybody. Let's go. Okay. We got a day. We're here. It's a Saturday, you guys. And we got Shannon just like got me out. I was cheering. I had like mascara. I had to go to the bathroom and like kind of clean myself up. I'm a runner, but I'm a little bit slower than Shannon. All right. So I was just talking to, where is Dr. Morris? Is he here? Here he is. All right. So I was eating some carbohydrates with Dr. Morris here. And I felt comfortable eating with you because you said, you know what, you gotta have carbohydrates if you're gonna be investing in, and we gotta like calm our central nervous system sometime, right? And he was telling me that movement is important with that. All right, so we're gonna strike some moves, you guys. All right. Okay, we're gonna create a V. All right, and we're gonna all lean to the right. So that's for you guys. That's over this way. It's gonna look a little weird. Okay. Okay, you got.
But, oh, we got.
There's got 2 kids in there. Okay, pump. Don't pull ahead of me.
Well, see, thank you, Dr. Morris. Any other tips? He says there it's a little bit. Why does it hurt?
Don't hold your breath.
Oh, breathe. Hold that breath. Wait for you to breathe. Shannon's reminding you of to thank you. Or thank you. All right, I hope somebody got a photo of that.
This is all for TikTok.
Yeah, you know why we're striking this pose? Because when we're in a V, we're flying like geese, and we go farther, we go faster, we take care of one another. That's what we're doing today, right? Fantastic. Well, thanks, you guys. Okay. So I'm Andrea Sullivan. I am the president of a new mastermind. I don't know how many of you know who Gary Vayner's is. Oh, one of our sheets. Okay. That's good. A couple more people here. He's definitely a serial entrepreneur. He also wants to buy the jet. So any of these family offices that want to contribute there, I'm sure he would got some giggles done.
He'd be happy about it. Yeah.
Might be a while, right? Might be a while. That's all right. But I helped in bringing to life a new mastermind for him. So we help entrepreneurs and C-suiters in becoming not only better and more successful business people, but also happier people personally as well. And I'm super fired up to have these 2 gentlemen and friends with me to talk about the alphabet soup that we have here on the screen, AI and NIL. You will try to demystify all of that. So I've got Will Thomas here to my left. I've worked with Will for many, many years, and he's always ahead of the curve in terms of how he helps people tell their stories, build their brands, and he's now embracing AI. AI for good as a mission for that. And he'll talk a little bit more about the importance of that for everybody in the firm, regardless of whether or not you're an athlete, whether you're a business person, whether you're running a family office, and some of the good things that we can consider. And then I have my colleague and friend, Brian, who joins us from VaynerSports. He's an SVP, and we're going to have each of these guys tell a little bit about their backgrounds because he has a pretty fascinating journey himself. I'm sure each and every one of the folks in this room has somewhat of an interesting journey. But he's going to talk a little bit more about the principles of NIL and how we can all embrace some of the concepts around that to be able to help us in leaving our legacy and hopefully building wealth at the same time. So what I'd love to do, first maybe, Will, you can just tell us a little bit more about what you're up to. And
Well, let's start off by recognizing why we did the V. And it's because Andrea's amazing program is called vYve. And so now you're never going to forget that it's vYve because you made a V with your arms.
thank you for that branded moment.
Yeah, Shannon, thank you for that talk. I've a serial marathoner triathlete for many years. I do it to stay healthy because I have 2 little kids that keep me, and that's why I couldn't lift my arms because my back is killing me. But definitely the mindset of what we're talking about here makes a lot of difference. So my journey started actually in endurance sports. I was organizing large-scale events for many years. I was very much about the shared human experience and the stories that come out of those experiences, and then how do you tell those stories to an audience? And so from the world of shared human experience, I got into content creation, and we're actually here filming all this. We're going to get some social moments and real interviews with some of you guys later. And about 9 years ago, my partner Alex and I, who's up in the back there, we started a content creation studio with the idea that stories can be told in bite-sized bits, and they can be shared, and they can be authentic, and they can be real, and make a real impact that way. And this was before TikTok, before Instagram. And so we took it to the market, and all of the clients looked at us and said, we want a 3-minute profile video for YouTube. And so it took us years to get to the place where they actually came around and said, oh, wow, we can now tell short format stories, and they can be impactful. Fast forward to today, and we're now using an AI platform we developed to basically do that at scale, where you can create authentic, relevant, and personalized, customized content at scale for the first time ever. And we can talk more about what that means and the impact of that, but you can do it using real, actual film content that you made, not the AI-generated slop we're seeing out there. And so that's what we say AI for good. We're talking about telling real stories in really impactful ways, and what that means for you as a personal brand and you as someone who's looking for deal flow, et cetera.
That's great. So I heard an invitation, it sounds like, as well. So anyone that wants to share a little bit about what they're up to, we'd love to capture you. So that's great. Thank you, Will.
Yeah, we have an interview set up upstairs, or you can meet Alex and he's going to grab some shots of you. But we're happy to make some content for you to take with you today.
All right, Ryan, you want to round out? We want to hear more about your background.
Sure. Great to be here. Thanks for having me. My name is Ryan Henderson, Senior Vice President of Sports at VaynerSports, or Senior Vice President of Football, excuse me. Co-head of football, basketball, and golf now at VaynerSports. Joined the team there. My career background's a lot different, how I got to sport. But I was a college athlete, always found a reason to want to ask questions as to why. You know, why as college athletes are we pushed in certain directions without communication, without direction? And I had an uncle of mine, a late uncle of mine, who's the athletic director at St. John's, and had a conversation with him about becoming an athletic director. And he said, Ryan, you don't want that bureaucratic bullshit, to be honest with you. And I still read that email daily as much as I can as a reminder as to why I'm doing what I'm doing now, which was to find a way into sport to actually create impact with the actual athlete, whether it's a student athlete or professional athlete. How do we allow them to really capture their voice, capture their image, or in this case, their name, image, and likeness, and find ways to create an impact? You know, when I walked in, Shannon, I heard you say legacy, and when I recruit, because I'm a part of the recruitment process, I'm a part of the marketing process, the branding process, I want to be all in with these guys and girls that I've been fortunate to work with. I try to question them on a couple things. What's your why? You have to have a why. You have to understand what you're doing. And then, do you want to create a legacy, or do you want to be a legend? There's two different paths. Being a legend is something you do on your field of play. Creating a legacy is what you do in the community and off the field. So when I joined VaynerSports with Gary and with AJ, his brother, who's our CEO, Gary's our chairman, really was just set, was kind of released. Go do what you need to do, because my background is from the largest sports agency in the world at CAA Sports to a marketing-only agency called Radigan Sports, where I was the executive vice president for 5.5 years. And between 2021 and 2022, it was my strategy, my design of how I wanted to be influential to these athletes' lives really started to take shape. Recruited and represented the 2021 U.S. Amateur Golf Champion, James Pyatt. And then 2022, I still have a hard time saying this because I don't like being so driven. I like being very humble and creating that humility for my clients. But I ended up having the most top 20 NFL draft picks in 2022, highlighted by Aiden Hutchinson at number 2, Ikem Ekwonu at 6, and Traylon Burks at 17. I think he was 17.
Congratulations.
Thank you. So with all that being said, 2022 and 2021, those were really the years where NIL for the student athlete really started taking shape. And because I was working with James Pyatt in the golf world, an international sport, U.S. Amateur Golf Champion, and then all of a sudden dovetailed into, another Michigander and Aiden Hutchinson, I was on the forefront of a lot of these decisions being made by state and now federally, and found myself in a lot of really interesting conversations, situations, legal rooms. I mean, you name it. Feel like I've found my path, and I'm happy to be here.
That's amazing. It's interesting. I really loved how Julia set the tone this morning and personally helping educate me a little bit more around some of the definitions, but also the complexities as we think about things having to do with legacy, family, wealth, all these topics that feel hard a lot of times, right? And emotional in some ways. And at the same time, she cited a lot of facts and figures, some of them, somewhat depressing. And I guess, Ryan, I'd love the fact that you have a background in finance and, and have a lot of expertise in striking deals, but also educating probably, not just the athletes, but their families. How do you, kind of break things down in a way that people can embrace what they need to do?
Yeah, it's a great question because it's really not as easy as it sounds, but it is at the same time. You are really running your business. It's very kitschy or cliche for a lot of agencies to say, you're your own CEO. That's one of the things that we say to student athletes a lot, professional athletes in recruitment, but it's the truth. I break it down even further that your brand, your NIL really started the first time you picked up that football, the first time you dribbled that basketball, the first time you threw a baseball, because that's the beginning of your journey. And we're seeing it starting younger and younger now, where I know there's club teams and AAU teams of 10-year-olds being promoted on TikTok that they're going to sign, they're going to be the next Steph Curry. It's like, man, just let them be a kid. Let them do what they need to do to be a kid. They haven't even hit puberty yet. So I try to speak to parents very honestly of your son or daughter might have a path to being a professional athlete, but they might wake up one day and say they want to be an architect. Support them in that moment. And even if I'm recruiting, a 14-year-old golfer who's ranked top 5 in the world, I tell his dad all the time, if he asks me for a letter of recommendation to the best business school, architecture, I'm going to write it. And that's it. We don't have to worry about sports. So I try to break it down to the humanizing factor first, right? Like, we have to understand what it means to be a business owner, because that's what you're creating. Whether it's sustainable for the short term or sustainable for the long term, that's the biggest question. So how do we break it down to the granular level so that parents can first appreciate what it means to be a professional, right? Being a student athlete, you're supposed to be a student first and athlete second. Get good grades. You have something that you can, my mom, she'd probably be happy I'm saying this because she's a teacher, but she always taught us nobody can ever take away your education. Hold on to it. Hold that very close to who you are. But as a professional athlete, all you're doing is substituting the word student athlete. You need to be a professional at every single aspect of your career, both on and off the court, on and off the field. There's a reason why Derrick Henry spends close to $1 million a year on his body. That's his office, right? LeBron James famously spends, I think, $2.5 million on his body annually. That's his office. So when you start thinking about all the different decisions you have to make just to excel, there's a line item on a balance sheet somewhere on a credit card of how much you're spending against what you're actually earning. And early on, you're not earning. And even with NIL moving forward, I try to educate the parents first on what the average NIL size of a deal actually is. It's still less than $10,000. It's not a lot of money in the grand scheme of things. So I try to really walk them through what it means to have a microeconomic view of your career and then a macroeconomic view of the entire industry, because you're competing against all these other student athletes, professional athletes for just a small piece of pie that exists when it comes to NIL.
Some more little depressing statistics,
Sorry,
right?
depressing,
Yeah,
but-
absolutely. All right, Will, you're gonna bring us up a little bit.
I'll try to lighten it up
Okay,
later.
okay, that sounds good. So Ryan's talking. Yeah, you have a little.
Well, I was
something.
just going to say, luckily no one here is trying to get an NIL contract in high school or college sports, so I think we're good there, right?
Hopefully.
So, Will, maybe you can talk. I mean, Ryan cited the fact that brands they want to partner with athletes because there's that relevant connection, and that stories can be told in a way that feels hopefully organic and not just kind of a bolt-on strategy. For those of us I think everyone probably wants to think about how does their reputation come out, and how can we be telling stories in a way that helps in building a brand that's net positive, and maybe a little bit about the role of AI in that.
Absolutely. I mean, I think we're in the age now where the personal brand is more valuable than a corporate brand, right? We all see it. One of our clients is Dwayne Johnson and Terramana, right? Terramana is the fastest growing tequila of all time. It's the fastest growing spirit of all time. It would not exist without Dwayne Johnson, right? Terramana is global. There's a global brand that dwarfs compared to Dwayne Johnson. So the role of AI in that is for everyone here, you have an unprecedented opportunity for the first time to hyperscale your personal brand. Define it, then hyperscale it. Those are very different things. To Ryan's point, You need to figure out, are you an investor first and then a retired athlete? Or are you a former athlete with an investor? Are you Serena Williams, who is now a venture capitalist first? Those are the big questions you guys have to answer and related to the family office. Once that becomes clear, there are tools that are emerging that allow you to scale quickly that story, which is really exciting because prior to that, to become a new version of yourself would be very expensive, very time-consuming, and very risky. Now, with some of the tools like what we're working on and what is out there, you can actually test versions of your message across many different, you can customize it to the right people. We're working on projects now where we're developing strategies for retail investing for real estate, where we can make customized video messaging with customized versions of footage to specific family offices to offer them invites to a deal that we think is going to be perfect for them. That's very authentic and very real, but that's custom to them. And another one goes out to this family office, this family office. You have an opportunity to get into that deal flow now in a way that wasn't possible before. And so that's kind of the message I want to impart here is like, there's a really big sea change, and you can take advantage of it with low cost and low risk.
But what about the flip side? I mean, I think we're hearing probably even more information about some of the risks around AI, and especially as it relates to our own, how our reputations could be potentially soiled, if AI goes awry.
Yeah, and that's being battled in the courts right now, and in the government legislations being tossed around, lots of different versions of it. Ultimately, NIL as a concept is the most valuable asset you own. And we're going to learn how to protect that as we get clarity on what is, protectable, what's not. But where we sit and where my business interest is about the direct communication you can have with the right people at scale. So rather than relying on, right now we have the platforms, right? We rely on algorithms, we rely on big companies to dictate where this content goes and who sees it. Pretty soon, that's gonna start to disappear. My thesis is there's gonna be a world in which video becomes almost like email messaging. You're gonna have a feed, your own feed that you're gonna open, and it's gonna be videos from people sending messages to you with themselves and their own version of content they want you to see, and that's gonna be your feed. And some of it may be influencers that come from TikTok, some of it might be directly from your friends, it might be opportunities, but it's gonna be video forward as a protocol, right? So you need to reimagine what is possible in terms of communication in the next couple of years. And so we talk a lot about protecting our name, image, and likeness, but we do that in the context of the current paradigm of algorithmic-driven distribution controlled by corporations looking to profit, right? And that's scary because they're going to do whatever they need to do with your NIL to make money. And that could be deep fakes, that could be people stealing your identity and pretending or using your name and trying to get access to deals from that. So I think the closer we can get to democratizing all of that communication, the less it's going to be about how do I protect this? It's more about how do I create authentic connections with specific groups or specific people that I can control. And it's a two-way street with content rather than just put it out there and let it be consumed and you don't know really what else is out there.
Ryan, how do you take, the kind of what was just shared here, there's the scary side, there's the positive side, you've got, athletes, families that are looking to you to help in guiding, especially like how you're building their brands. How do you counsel them through things like this?
It's daunting once in a while, because you do have, sometimes it's the parents, sometimes it's the significant other, sometimes it's the student athlete or professional athlete. I'll just say athlete now. Who think they know what they're talking about. And I say that cavalierly because most of us do not know. Will, I hope you know what's going on in AI, because I can't wait to learn more from you. But there's so much happening. There's such a rapid pace. We talk about the media as an example. The media window is less than 10 minutes at this point. It's just everything's flipping. You're scrolling, you're swiping, whatever. there's just so much to take in. There's so many data points now that anybody that says they're an expert, we talked about this the other day, anybody that says they're an expert, I know it says expert behind our names or somewhere up there. I truly believe that there's no experts in NIL. The Gladwellian approach, I'm sure you're all familiar with Malcolm Gladwell, his 10,000-hour approach to becoming an expert. It's more than 1 year of continuous learning. If you take every day, every hour of every day, every minute of every hour to learn, and we have not had the same iteration of NIL since its inception in 2021. It's changed drastically, especially this last year with the transfer portal, so that's a completely different sidebar conversation. But when it comes to something like AI, I have to just plan on being ahead of the curve. You mentioned, Will, you're constantly ahead of the curve. I have to also be ahead of what that curve is. So AI right now, if we're looking at a bell curve of early adopters, I don't even think we're there yet, of early adopter phase. So how can we learn just enough to be able to properly educate or be thought-provoking thought starters for our clients so they can at least dive into it a little bit? I don't need them to be experts in AI. I don't need to be an expert myself. I need to find somebody like Will who can be that subject matter expert because we're both swimmers. We just found that out. We were both college swimmers. I want to stay in my swim lane, and I want Will to stay in his swim lane. And eventually, we want those teams to come together on a relay race, but the best thing we can do for our clients is to create a web of experts around them so that they can better insulate themselves against some of the flagrant actions that could come from somebody misusing their own AI or their own NIL. I don't want to be an expert. I'm sure, Will, you don't want to have to talk to the moms of some of the clients that I work with. So we'll just
Shannon's laughing in the front
we'll just
row
meet
here.
in the middle.
I think that it always comes back to the first principles of who are you, what is your story, and who are you communicating that story to and why. That will never change. Storytelling is not going to change. Humans like stories from other humans. We don't currently like AI-generated slop the way we like authentic connection. I don't think that's going to change.
Thank you, Bonnie.
When we get to a place where we don't want to have human interactions at events or professional live sports, then like it's all over, the robots have won, basically. That's far away. In the meantime, I think to your point, rather than being daunted by all the technology out there and what's happening and changing, it's more about who am I now? Who do I want to be? How does that translate into my family office strategy? How does that translate into my opportunity to get deal flow? How am I positioning myself to be at the top of the list when my friends or colleagues are thinking about who do I want to bring on this investment opportunity? How do I want to communicate to my fans? That all doesn't change. Once you get clear on that, there are tools to enhance that, okay? So I would start with the first principle of that and then work your way up to, okay, knowing I want to be a part of communities online, knowing I want to create my own content channels on LinkedIn because I want to grow my profile to a specific audience on LinkedIn, knowing I want to do this, then you get to find the tools to do that. Too often people come to us and say, hey, I want to make a campaign on TikTok. What do we do? And these are like global brands. Hey, we've got an influencer and we're on TikTok, we want to be on YouTube, and we want to be on Instagram, and here's our script. And we're like, this is okay, great, you've got the budget, but this you might as well just make it for your home video collection. Like it's not going to do anything. Like it's not how you do it anymore, right? The world is changing so quickly, but your story doesn't have to change to match that. And I think that's really fundamental to anything we're talking about with AI.
Yeah, I think that's super interesting. Gary just launched a book that's called Day Trading Attention that's all about how you connect with culture. And, I think, I don't know about you guys, but even though I've worked at Vayner for 7 years, I feel like I have imposter syndrome as it relates to how do I get out there more and talk about the things that I want to talk about and connect with communities that want to, sort of learn about those things or, kind of go on similar journeys. Ryan, would love to hear about how do you counsel, because athletes, to your point, they're the job oftentimes is being the student first or being the professional athlete first, and then now they're supposed to, be creating this, a whole brand. How do you counsel them on how to go about that?
Yeah, it depends on the person. I think that's the easiest way of saying it. It's very much, case by case. I like to get to know them. I think the humanizing nature of what I try to do is present myself with a sense of care, right? Like an openness to who they are and getting to know their story. I'm sure it has something to do with how I was raised, just that very much I'm interested in them, right? It's not just a dollar sign that I'm seeing walking towards me on the field. It's how are they feeling today, right? So when you add in that level of we are all human beings, how do you let them present themselves the way they want to, as opposed to pushing them in a direction that they need to go? So every athlete is different. Dwayne is different than Aiden Hutchinson in a lot of ways, but they both play college football. Okay, that's one variable that links them, but there's so many different pieces of their DNA that are different. So trying to get to know each and every one of them, I play 10-cent psychologist probably every day. If they gave me a nickel every time they want to talk about something that's beyond sport, maybe I'd have 20 nickels a day. It'd be great. But I think at the end of the day, it's really just allowing them to be who they need to be and then trying to guide them in a positive direction towards taking advantage of, oh, you really like anime? Well, let's send you to Tokyo for 14 nights because you're going to go be the VIP guest at a red carpet event. I don't know why, but it works, So it's just allowing them to tell their story, and my job is to really just be the kind of like shepherding them through how to tell their story the right way.
That's really interesting, the whole idea that the fans want to see your real life, right? They want to have that window in,
Right.
and to the degree that you have you're sort of comfortable in
Right.
showing and where that starts and stops, though, at the same time, right?
Right. Social media is really, I look at social media as behind the scenes of your life. It provides access, and most fans want to have access to those really kind of intimate moments in your life that are not shown on screen. It's why all those vignettes that are shown on CBS ahead of the Masters and voiced by Mike Tirico are loved, and beloved, because people love learning about that focus point before the big event. So my job is to make sure that those big events are more often than just behind a specific sport.
Ryan, if they're, I'm getting the whole, yes, I think the music is going to come on quickly and they're going to yank us off. I wanted to just leave the audience with, any kind of homework or things that they should think about with the remainder of their weekend. Since you guys are so ambitious that you're here on Saturday, I'm assuming you have nothing to do on Sunday. What should they be thinking about tomorrow?
For me, I guess it's really just getting a sense of who your clients might be or the direction that they want to go if you have clients, or if you're an athlete yourself, what direction do you want to go in, and then push the limits of your knowledge, right? Read a lot of books, try to be kept up to date with what's happening in pop culture today, and then understand how you can really bring it back into center for yourself. But without doing any sort of self-identification or discovery, you're just going to continue on a very simple scale. So push the limit a little bit further.
How about you, Will?
Yeah, I would say get to know AI agents and the concept of what those are, because those are coming quickly, and that's the big fundamental change we're going to see in a lot of how we communicate and what we do. You're going to be able to outsource a lot of the stuff we're talking about here, even like learning the tools that you need to do the things we're talking about. You're going to have an agent who can help you do all that. Agents can work with the software we make. So that you can have video created for you by an agent to your liking. That's the first thing. Second thing is there was a podcast that came out the other day on TED AI that is about Synthesia and the newest version of the digital human avatars that they're creating, which are so lifelike. And now the new Google Veo 2 that just came out, which is the videos of that you look at, they're indistinguishable from humans on YouTube. People can't tell the difference. So we've crossed the uncanny valley. But that podcast, I recommend you all listen to, because it's very much about name, image, and likeness in the world of a digital avatar of you that can be scaled infinitely and speak any language and say anything you want and full body in any situation. So all of a sudden, you have both the opportunity to create infinite versions of yourself doing anything you could ever want to share with your fans. But at the same time, that's also technology that's possible to be used in nefarious ways. So,
Will,
yeah.
can you spell that for me? Because I think I just missed
Which part?
that fancy word that you said. Was it synesthesia? or
Synthesia is the name of the
Can you
startup.
spell it or no? Can you spell it, Will? It's okay if you can't. I'm not judging. I'm not judging.
If you just do a Google search for digital human avatar, they just
Okay,
raised
thank you.
$1 billion. I mean, it's a big start. But that podcast specifically is very well done at explaining the future of video content and the future of the digital avatar age. And that, I think, is going to open up your eyes to how to reimagine what it means to have your own identity.
Wonderful. Well, thank you so much, everyone. Thank you to the Legacy Circle. And I love seeing Julia up in the top. Thank you.